morning and welcome to day 12 of Vlogmas. So Winnie is here. She has gone berserk. She was running around and barking. She's hilarious, absolutely hilarious, but she's run around so much she's now fast asleep. Let me show you. She is. I think she's worn out Wally. Look at that face. Oh, he says, oh, she's worn me out. They're all snuggled up. No. It's so adorable, isn't it? So before I get on to the Advents, I just want to let you know I had a message yesterday. You know, I showed you my poinsettia. I mean, I've got one every year, but I didn't know they are poisonous to pets. I mean, mine goes in the same place, but I just want to put it out there for anyone else that didn't know, and you've got one and you've got pets. Just be aware where you put it. So I just want to let you know that one. So let's get on to Advent. So Cadbury. Ooh. Number 12. Ooh. I love these. Freddo. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have that one later with a cup of tea. There's quite a few of them gone in the jar, but I've had some. So it's the Bird Street Yarns. I started using the row counter yesterday on the Latvian. I'll tell you something about that later. I won't tell you it now, but yeah, I started using it. Oh, not yarn, it's heavy. Oh, I'll get my hand out. Oh, it's a candle. Oh, Yankee. Let's have a smell. Oh, that is gorgeous. How lovely is that? I love Yankee, but very rare I get them because of the price, but that is a lovely treat. Ooh, I'm happy with that. So, last one, guys. Hey Fig. As I said, I've loved doing this Advent. Someone was telling me that Paula's not Stitched by Mrs. D is not doing them next year. But I remember her saying when she done the one before this that she wasn't going to do them, and then she changed her mind. So hope she does for people, you know, after seeing this. So yeah, just wait and see. But yeah, I've loved it. So here we go. Let's do the knot. Okay, so here we go. Oh, the paper. Right. Last minute shopping. Teddy hasn't got a Christmas tree and has managed to find one in the sale. No space left in his bags, so he will need to carry this home under his arm. Merry Christmas, Teddy. Oh, let's have a look. Oh, look. He's got his own little tree. Oh. Oh. So let's do it. There we go. So Fig, that's you done for Advent. I'm so happy with him and everything. Really, really am. I love him. I really, really do. So there we go. Forgot the jigsaw. So let's move these bags out of the way. Okay, so this is the one that I did yesterday. So let's see, number 12. There he is. Okay. There we go. So it's later. I don't know if I've shown you this before. Oh. It's when I used to get a little box of crochet. And this is just such a lovely little book. I have done the Brussels sprouts. Maybe it's something I need to do when I'm sat down. It's a beautiful little book, it really is. It's got some patterns for you. It's so hard. Oh, let's try this way. So, little bits of mistletoe earring. Is they decorations? Yeah, decorations. What they're earrings. Look. Oh. Oh, do you know what? I so want to make that one. I really do. It's adorable. I've done a pud. Yeah, I want to do the mouse. But the lady that did this, I can't remember her name, but she's Just Pootling on Instagram. And she does sell her designs on there. The big Santa that I made, she designed that, and she sells the pattern. So yeah, highly recommend. Lovely little book. Okay, so Peter Rabbit, here we go. Oh, Jeremy Fisher. Oh, don't want to come out. Oh, look. Oh, it's got a bit of paint on it. I like his waistcoat. Oh, he looks happy, doesn't he? Okay, that's sorted. So I think he's going to go over here and bring some cheer to this little group. There we go. Look who's woke up. Winnie. That was a short nap. She goes, where were you? If I go out and she's still awake, she barks. She doesn't like it if I leave the room. Oh, she's gone back to sleep. She was just checking where you were. Right, Bob. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, so look at me. Honestly. So I've done one leg of Gracie. What else did I do yesterday? Didn't get any cross stitch done. I started, well, do you know what? Very rare that I do a gauge. But because I haven't done these Latvian mittens before, I thought I'm going to do it this time. So I did the gauge when I went to bed. Using such fine needles is weird. But I've done the gauge, but I haven't measured it yet. So I'll let you know later if it's okay. So if that's worked out, I really want to start them today. I really, really do. I'd like to get some applique done, but we'll see. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. So yeah, so I will see you later. Enjoy your day. So here I am again. This afternoon I've worked on Gracie the frog. So just show you a picture. So I've attached her head to her body. I've completed one leg and now on the other leg. You can hear purring, it's Dolly, she's on my lap. So there he is, or she is. I'm really pleased with her, I really am now. She's perfect. And, oh, here's one of the legs. And with the other leg, I've done the foot. So now I'm working up the leg. So once they're completed, I'll be attaching the legs to the body, and then it will be the arms. I'm really looking forward to doing the outfit. Obviously when I've completed her, I'll show you what the outfit's going to be. So yeah, measured the Latvian gauge that I did, and it was 0.5 inches small. So I'm going up a needle on that. So after I've loaded this up, I'm going to start them. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. There's just one more thing I want to show you. I had a lovely item arrive today from Lindy, Crafty Lindy on Instagram. She's one of our Zoomies. Hi Lindy. But look at this. So that's the card. I love it. And last year I did a embroidery of a little card like this with a tree on top, and I gave it to Abby's mother-in-law. I love it. And look what she made me. Aren't they gorgeous? So I'm going to hang them on my tree. So thank you so much, Lindy. Really lovely of you, honestly. Lovely little surprise, it really was. Dolly, you're sort of slipping off my lap. Can we just put you up a little bit? There you go. That's better. Okay. So, Christmas at Fairacre by Miss Reed. Not by Miss Reed. You know what I mean. Okay. So, let's update you. So, what are you doing? Miss Quinn was reminiscing about when she was a little girl with her brother, Lovell, and how she found out that Father Christmas wasn't real. And yeah, they had a cousin go there to visit, and they were not very nice to the cousin. But when the cousin said about Father Christmas, she was going to tell him that there wasn't, and then Lovell gave her a look and she stopped, and yeah, she didn't let him know. So chapter 7. She awoke much refreshed, still with the memories of past Christmas times about her, and determined to make the present one happy for the children. It was still dark, but she could hear children's voices. Perhaps they were already up. She put her warm feet upon the chilly linoleum and went to the door. The house felt icy. Sure enough, the two little girls were scampering about on the long passage, half dressed. Let me just put my other glasses on. Sorry about this. That's better. They greeted her with cries of joy and bounced into her room unbidden. Wails from Robin could be heard in the distance. "Oh, he's all right," said Hazel casually. "Daddy's put him on his potty and he doesn't want to go, that's all." Jenny was fingering Miriam's hairbrush. "I've asked Father Christmas for one like this," she said. Hazel's lip began to curl in a disarray manner, and Miriam, recalling her nighttime memory, put a hand on her arm. There was no mistaking the alert glance that the child flashed at her. She knew all right. Remembering Lovell's meaningful shake of the head so long ago, she repeated the small gesture to his daughter. The child half smiled in return, squeezed the restraining hand upon her arm, and remained silent. That, thought Miriam thankfully, was one hurdle surmounted. "What do you have for breakfast?" she inquired tactfully, changing the subject. "Cornflakes or shredded wheat," said Hazel. "Sometimes toast, if there's time," said Jenny. "What does Daddy have?" asked Miriam, secretly thinking that Eileen should surely cook a breakfast, if not for the children, then for a man off to his parish duties in the coldest part of England. "The same," they chorused. "Go and get dressed," said Miriam, "and I'll make toast for us all, and perhaps a boiled egg." "Oh, lovely," squealed the children. "Let's go and tell Robin." They fled, leaving Miriam to have the bathroom in peace. At breakfast, Miriam broached the practical problem of catering for the household for 4 days. The basic things needed to be in the house, and she knew that there were Brussels sprouts, cabbages and carrots in the vegetable garden. A Christmas pudding stood on the pantry shelf, but she would have to make mince pies and other sweets. And where was the turkey? Or was it to be a round of beef? Lovell was vague. He rather thought a friend of theirs was supplying the turkey, but he would have imagined it would have been delivered by now. "Will it be dressed?" asked Miriam, with considerable anxiety. She might be Sir Barnaby's right hand, but she knew her limits, drawing a foul from not among her talents. "Dressed?" queried Hazel, egg spoon arrested halfway to her mouth. "What in?" Gales of giggles greeted this sally. "A bonnet?" gasped Jenny. "And a shawl, like Jemima Puddle Duck? That's what turkey's dressed in." The two little girls rolled about in proximies of mirth. Lovell cast his eyes heavenward in mock disdain. Dressed means ready to put in the oven, explained Miriam, laughing. I know a boy at school who can pull out the tubes and smelly bits, said Hazel, recovering slightly. Is that what you mean? Exactly, said Miriam. At that moment, the telephone rang and Lovell vanished. It might still have its feathers on, remarked Jenny. And its head, added Hazel. Miriam's qualms intensified. How do you get its head off? Inquired Jenny conversationally, scraping the last of her egg from the shell. Miriam was spared, replying as Lovell returned. The chairman of Eileen's bench, just inquiring. Eileen, she remembered now, had recently been a magistrate. Frankly, she wondered if she were capable of the task, but simply said politely, does she worry much about her duties? What she really worries about, replied Lovell, is whether she should wear a hat or not. Then, sensing that this might smack of disloyalty, he enlarged on the many compliments he had heard from her fellows on the bench, on Eileen's good sense and fair-mindedness. His discourse was cut short by a ring at the back door. Hazel skipped off to answer it and came back much excited. It's the turkey man, Aunt Miriam, and it's all right. He's bare. Construing this correctly, Miriam felt a wave of relief and hurried to fetch the bird, Lovell following close behind to pay the bill. A little later, she sallied forth with several baskets and the 3 children in tow. Lovell had to conduct a funeral service and visit 2 desperately sick parishioners. He would be back to late lunch and then stay at the vicarage while Miriam visited the hospital. Can you possibly get back by about 4, do you think? He inquired, consulting her list anxiously. I'm supposed to call at the village hall to have tea with the Over 60 Club and be at the Brownies carol service in the next parish at the same time. Then I must have a word with the flower ladies and get ready for the midnight service. Miriam assured him that she could manage easily. Can we come and see Mummy? Yes, can we? Clamoured the girls. Miriam looked at Lovell. Sister made no objection last time, as long as they behave, of course, and aren't there too long. But how do you feel? I'd like their company, said Miriam, and they fell upon her with shrieks of joy. The grocer's shop was one of 3 in the village. Across the road was the butcher's, and next door was the post office, which sold sweets and tobacco. The proprietor of the village stores bore a strong resemblance to Mrs. Pringle of Fairacre. She had the same square frame, the identical short-cropped hair, and the expression of malevolent resignation. Fortunately, the similarity ended there, and she turned out to be unusually helpful about the needs of the vicarage household. Did you want the piece of gammon Mrs. Queen asked about? I've put it by in case. Yes, please, said Miriam. At least it would make a change from turkey in the days to come. And you'll want potatoes, Mrs. Bates informed her. That 100 weight was nearly finished last week, and he told me. Miriam, slightly dazed, remembered that Eileen's mother's help was a local girl. I'm her auntie, vouchsafed Mrs. Bates, scrabbling in a box of potatoes hidden behind the counter. Fairacre all over again, thought Miriam. Take £5 now, and my Bert will bring up £10 later if that suits you. You don't want to hump all that lot, and Robin's pushchair, not that strong. Miriam agreed meekly. It was quite a change to be managed. Was this how Barney felt when she mapped out his routine? With her shop, she remembered there had been no preparations made for lunch at home. For the first time in her life, she bought fish fingers and a ready-made blackcurrant tart. How often she had watched scornfully the feckless mothers buying inexpensive convenience foods. Now, with 3 children distracting her and the clock ticking on inexorably, she sympathised with them. Catering for one, she began to realise, was quite a different matter from trying to please the varying tastes of 5 people, and hungry ones at that. There we go. "Where's Robin?" she inquired suddenly. The child had vanished. Hazel and Jenny were talking to a boy in the doorway. "Probably in the road," said Mrs. Bates, "and the traffic's somewhat awful this morning." There was a hint of mournful satisfaction in this remark that reminded Miriam yet again of the distant Mrs. Pringle. She rushed to the door, heart thudding, calling his name. The road was clear except for a scrawny dog carrying a large bone. "It's all right," shouted Mrs. Bates behind her. "He's here." The child was sitting on the floor, hidden behind the end of the counter, beside a rolled-down sack containing dog biscuits, which he was eating with the voracity of one just released from a concentration camp. "Robin, really!" exclaimed his aunt. "Like Tabitha Twitchit," she thought suddenly. "I'm affronted." "Don't worry, miss. He's partial to dog biscuits, and these are extra pure," she added virtuously. "You must let me pay you," said Miriam, hauling the child to his feet and brushing yellow sulphur biscuit crumbs from his coat. "Oh, he's welcome," said Mrs. Bates indulgently. "I'll just add up the other." By the time she had visited the butcher to buy steak and kidney for a casserole for the evening meal, and then the post office for stamps and sweets, Miriam seemed to have accumulated 3 heavy baskets. The wind was now boisterous and carrying rain bordering on sleet. The children did not seem to notice the cold, but Miriam, struggling with the erratic pushchair and the shopping, felt frozen through. "Oh, dear Holly Lodge," she thought with longing, tucked into the shelter of the downs, screened by that stout hedge. When would she see it again? "What a lovely, lovely lunch," sighed Jenny, leaning back replete. "Excellent," agreed her father. Miriam was secretly amused. If her friends could have seen the meal she had assembled, fish fingers, instant potatoes, tinned beans, and bottled tomato sauce, followed by the bought fruit pie, her standing as a first-class cook would have taken a jolt. And yet it had been relished. Perhaps there was a moral here, but there was certainly no time to pursue the thought. With the washing up to be done, the girls to get ready, and Robin to put down for his afternoon nap, she must put the steak and kidney in a slow oven too, so that it would cook gently while they're at the hospital. How on earth did mothers manage? She was more exhausted now, at midday, than she was at the end of a hard week at the office. At 2:30 she set out with the girls in a state of wild excitement in the back of the car. They were carrying their Christmas presents for Eileen and keeping an eye on Miriam's. Tomorrow Lover would be the only visitor at the hospital, while Miriam took charge at home. Eileen looked prettier and younger than ever, propped up against her pillows in a frilly pale blue nightgown. It so happened that Miriam's present was also a nightgown, but a black chiffon one threaded with narrow black satin ribbon. It would have been a splendid contrast, she thought, to the one she was now wearing. Eileen greeted them all with hugs and kisses. "You are a perfect angel to come to our rescue," she said when the little girls had been settled in a comparative peace with some magazines. "Have you had a terrible time coping?" Miriam reassured her. "I think all the shopping's done. No doubt I've forgotten something quite vital like bread, but I've remembered stuffing for the bird and even salted peanuts in case people come in for drinks." That's the picture. "That's more than I should have done," said Eileen cheerfully, and Miriam began to feel more drawn to her sister-in-law than ever before. There was something engaging about such candour. "Is that lady dying?" asked Jenny in a high, carrying voice, her finger pointing to a grey-faced woman dozing in the bed next door. Miriam went cold with shock. Eileen laughed merrily. Good heavens, no. Mrs. White is getting better faster than any of us. Be very quiet, darling, so that she doesn't wake up. At this point, Sister arrived and asked Eileen if the children would like to see the Christmas tree in a children's ward. They departed happily. By the way, said Miriam, do you know that Hazel has tumbled to Father Christmas? Yes, I hope she won't tell Jenny yet. Miriam explained what had happened. Always problems, said Eileen, and with some you will be wrong whatever you do. I thought this when Lovell and I were invited out together the other evening. He was suddenly taken ill. Of course, I rang our hostess and she said, will you feel like coming? What do you do? Say yes and be branded as callous to one's husband's sufferings and probably greedy to boot, or say no and let the hostess down? Insoluble, agreed Miriam. Or, worse still, wondering whether to pull the lavatory chain in the dead of the night in someone else's house. If you do, you can imagine the startled hostess saying, you think she would have more sense than to rouse the whole household. On the other hand, one is liable to be branded a perfect slut if the house hostess visits the loo first thing in the morning. They laughed together, and Miriam, for the first time, felt completely at ease in Eileen's presence. But tell me about yourself, she said. Are they getting things right? I think so. They couldn't be kinder, and once the results of the tests are through, I may be able to come home. Strict diet and all that, and weekly checkups, but I've a strong suspicion it won't come to surgery. Thank God for that, said Miriam. You must be longing to get back to Fairacre, said Eileen. The vicarage is such a barn of a place, but Lovell is terribly grateful for you for coming up so quickly, and so am I, as you know. We should have foundered without you. Ah, here comes Sister. The children had been given a chocolate toy from the tree and were starry-eyed with pleasure. Shall I unwrap your presents while you're here? Asked Eileen. Yes, yes, do it now, they clamoured. With great care, she undid the wrappings, read the lopsided cards covered in kiss-crosses, and finally displayed a canvas bookmark embroidered in lazy daisy stitch by Hazel, and a thimble in a walnut shell case from Jenny. Perfect, smiled Eileen, putting the thimble on her finger and the bookmark in the novel by her bed. Now, Christmas has really begun. Miriam looked at her watch. I must take them back. Lovell has to be off again by 4. He'll be in tomorrow, and I'll come again after that for you. Dear Miriam, murmured Eileen as they kissed. No wonder Lovell adores you. You are an absolute tower of strength. Miriam called into Sister's room as they went out to thank her for the children's presents and to inquire after Eileen's progress. She's doing very well. We couldn't have a better patient and a real help to the others in the ward. She says you are all very good to her. That's nothing. To Mrs. Queen's kindness, to my old mother, said Sister with energy. You don't forget help like that when you're in trouble. He lives by his beliefs, that brother of yours. He tries to, I know, replied Miriam, much moved. Come on, Aunt Miriam. We've got to get our things ready for Father Christmas, urged the girls. First things first, called Sister as they left the hospital. The wind had become a vicious howling gale by the time they reached home. The sleet slanted across the headlights and a wicked draught blew from the east under the vicarage doors. Water was blowing out to the landing from a window which took the brunt of the weather, and Miriam searched for something to staunch the flow. Mummy just leaves it, said Jenny, faintly surprised. So much fuss over some intruding rain. It always dries up after a bit. Exhausted as she was, Miriam began to sympathise with this attitude, although it was against all her principles. She rammed a shabby towel against the crack and hoped for the best. Lovell had departed into the waste of wind and water, and Robin's bath time arrived. Hazel and Jenny accompanied her to the bathroom, anxious to help and to explain to the boy the importance of hanging up his stocking. Less hostile than the previous evening, nevertheless, the child still resented Miriam's attention. "Dada do," he muttered sulkily. "Go away." "You're a bad boy," scolded Hazel, "to say that to Aunt Miriam when she's come all this way to look after you." Robin responded by blowing a mouthful of soapy water over his sister. Most of it went onto Miriam's skirt. Jenny improved the shining hour by telling the child about Father Christmas. "And he'll creep into your room in a red coat," she began, but was interrupted by a fearful screeching from her brother. "No want! No want!" he screamed, shaking his head violently. Jenny looked resignedly at Miriam, who was doing her best to soap his thrashing legs. "You know he's frightened, that's what. He's just frightened of Father Christmas. What we'll do?" Hazel came to the rescue. "Put his stocking on the banisters, then he'll be all right, won't he?" She looked at Miriam with a conspiratorial glance. "Good idea," she said hastily, praying that the secret would still be kept. She hauled the boy out of the water amidst more shrieking and muffled his cries in a warm towel. The bathroom, steamy and damp, was the warmest place in the house, and she was loath to leave it to put the child into his cot in the chilly bedroom. What this place needs, she told herself, and will never get, is a thoroughly efficient central heating system. The two little girls had climbed into the bath together, lured into an early bedtime by the promise of supper by the fire downstairs and the happy prospect of hanging up stockings. Miriam left them there while she warmed their milk in the kitchen. Outside, the rain lashed at the window and the branches of the apple tree creaked and groaned. A particularly fierce draught under the larder made a noise like a banshee wailing. This was Norfolk at its worst, thought Miriam, but at least the stove was warm, and the comforting smell of a steak casserole counteracted the bleakness outside. The sitting room was snug with the curtains drawn and the fire blazing. The two little girls nursed their bowls of cornflakes literally topped with brown sugar and raisins, and asked Miriam to tell them about Christmas when she was small. "Well," began Miriam, "we used to hang up pillowcases, your daddy and I." "So do we, and stockings. And we left a mince pie and some milk for Father Christmas in the hearth." "So do we," they chorused. "And after he'd been," said Miriam, looking squarely at Hazel, whose face remained rapt, "we took our pillowcases into Grandma and Grandpa's bed and undid all our parcels." "And what did you have?" Miriam suddenly remembered the agonizing night when she felt her parcels as the tears rolled down her cheeks. She could taste them now, salty and bitter, and feel the lump in her aching throat. "Are you all right?" asked Hazel. "Yes, just thinking," said Miriam. "Oh, a doll and a tea set with flowers on it, and of course a tangerine and nuts and sweets. Lots of lovely things. And heartbreak," she added silently. God, that heartbreak. Nothing in her adult life had ever hurt her quite so piercingly. "Can we bring our things into your bedroom?" asked Jenny, spooning up the last drop. "Of course you can," cried Miriam. "On Christmas Day you can do anything you like. Within reason," she added prudently. They skipped upstairs before her and accompanied her to the linen cupboard for 2 pillowcases. A pair of Eileen stockings already hung over their bed rail. "Do you think they'll be full?" asked Jenny. "Positively brimming over," Miriam promised her, tucking them in and praying that sleep would soon engulf them. Later that evening, she and Lovell drowsed before the fire before he went over to the church for his late service. In her lap, below the great black mass of Lovell's cassock. "Must have caught it on my heel in the hem," he said apologetically, as he handed it over. "Do you mind?" she now stitched languidly, thinking yet again how many varied tasks fell to the lot of a married woman. "I wish I could have found someone else to do it and to help you in the house," said Lovell, "but everyone's so busy at Christmas time. Looking back, I realise how lucky we are at home to have dear old Infusini and her like coping in the kitchen. It meant Mother had the energy needed to cope with all parish affairs." "From what I hear," said Miriam, snipping black cotton, "Eileen does very well." She has to do far too much," sighed Lovell. "How did she look today?" "Ravishing as ever," said Miriam, and told him about her visit and sister's kindness and her remark about his own. Lovell looked surprised. "Really? I did nothing, you know, just called now and again." And she also said that Eileen was a marvellous patient and a great help in the ward. His face softened. "She's the bravest person I know. She's been so sweet with that poor woman in the next bed. A terminal case, they call it. She wasn't expected to live through the night." Miriam remembered her niece's query, her own horror and Eileen's courageous laughter. There was certainly more to this sister-in-law of hers than she had ever imagined. "Well, there you are," she said, shaking out the cassock. "I shall wait up for you and we'll have the fun of filling the pillowcases together." "You shouldn't. You look whacked, so don't stay up just for me." He shrugged into his cassock, threw his coat over his shoulders and made for the door. "I shall be back soon after 1, I expect," he shouted above the wind, waved and was gone. Miriam was about to return to the fireside when she remembered she had intended to stuff the turkey and prepare some of the vegetables for the morrow. Should she go into the kitchen and tackle these chores, or should she give way to temptation and collapse into the armchair? Bravely she made her way towards the larder, followed by Copper, ever anxious for a meal. "And to think," she told the dog, that I'm known as a working woman. I wonder what Eileen is." So we'll stop there. We're on chapter 8, page 89. Here's So I hope you're still enjoying it. So yeah, now I'm going to start my Latvian mittens. So we'll see how that goes. Sorry, my voice is going a bit. So I'll let you know in the morning, and if they've turned out okay, well, it won't be a lot that I've started, but I'll show you what, I've managed to do. So for now, take care. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the morning.